Let's talk balls and strikes. Joining me now is Politico's White House reporter, Dan Lippman, also a good friend of mine. Dan, a lot to talk about, a lot going on. Can we start with the media, social media, and the bias towards conservatives? I think there's a massive bifurcation in the country right now. The right blaming social media for censorship, the left saying it's about time.
Yeah, I think both sides are kind of have points that are on their side. It's a shame that all these people are getting kicked off social media. If you're for freedom of speech, because you don't want to leave people on these fringe websites and apps where people are kind of getting more extreme, but you also want to hold people accountable. Where if you're going to spread constant lies and falsehoods about how the election was stolen or that there was massive voter fraud, these are private companies. And so they're not obligated like a public square to have your protest sign right there and have it go viral, because false information, they've done studies, goes more viral than actual news, which is sometimes less, more boring and more straightforward and less sensational and conspiratorial.
And you've done this prior to your White House coverage. You've done this. You talked about the social media. You've been involved in this. So I know you're a smart guy in this aspect. So I'm trying to figure this out. I have 1.2 million Twitter followers 10 days ago. Now I have 1.1. I've lost 100,000 followers. Okay, I get it. You want to pull people off that maybe seen as radical. For me, maybe they're following me. But are we going to assume that they only follow conservatives? Like the left doesn't seem to be complaining about losing anyone. Like I, for one, follow people on both sides of the aisle because I want to know. I'm guessing these people who are getting pulled followed Pelosi and AOC and Biden as well, but no one on the left seems to be complaining about losing Twitter followers.
Yeah, I think, I should have checked my Twitter followers to see if I lost any in the last week. I have been kind of busy with my job and covering the news to keep track of that. But there is a concern that, you're going to make these people lose faith in democracy, and that they are going to get ginned up more by being in their cocoons and going on the dark web and becoming even more radicalized. You don't want to have a low-grade civil war in the next few years in this country where you have people who are extremists kind of acting like the weathermen and setting off pipe bombs here and there because they feel censored by big tech, which is a crazy thing to even think about. But we are talking about, there was an attempted violent insurrection in the Capitol last week, spurred on by the president, who kind of put fuel on the fire and didn't realize that the Capitol would be breached, or that Capitol Police would be so bad at their jobs in terms of keeping protesters where they were supposed to be, which is on the National Mall.
Dan, again, this is balls and strikes. We're just talking straight up, and I want to inject my opinion into this. Let's turn a little bit. Your beat is the White House. What is your reporting? What are your sources telling you? What is the mentality, the mood of Donald Trump behind closed doors? Because frankly, a lot of us don't know what's going on back there.
Well, he issued a statement this afternoon where he calls for no violence and calls for a peaceful transition. That's taken a couple months he did one last week as well, but it's been a while in the making that he's had to do this. And so this is something that you have a situation where he is cocooned. He doesn't have many close advisors anymore. It's down to the originals, plus Mark Meadows, who was an ally in some ways on the campaign. So we're down to John McEntee, Dan Scavino, Kayleigh McEnany. And so it feels like it's a bunker mentality. He went to Texas yesterday, but he is just counting down the days. I'm sure Melania wants to get out of there as well. He's not really mounting a serious effort to go against the impeachment just yet. Maybe they'll do that in the Senate. But I think he sees the writing on the wall that he's going to lose, and that McConnell is not going to back him up this time.
So Trump has said that there will be a peaceful transfer of power. We had Peter Navarro on earlier, who was a White House trade advisor, specifically, interested in China, who said that the Biden camp hasn't reached out to him for any sort of transition of power, of information. We want that. Is your reporting that there is some sort of handshake between the outgoing Trump administration and the incoming Biden administration? Or are these two factions just so divided that they can't even get it together for the good of the country?
I think the transition has been going relatively well across departments. There's been hundreds, maybe even 1,000 meetings between the transition folks and people in the government currently. And so Navarro, I don't think the Biden team is that interested in meeting with him, but they have been meeting with the Trade Representative's Office and Commerce Department and Treasury and all of the agencies. They have, since the GSA said we're going to have a new president, the transition has proceeded apace. And so I think the American people can feel confident that once on day one of the Biden administration, that there will be people who know what's going on in government, and that the military and the national security space apparatus are not going to miss a beat.
Very quickly, Dan, about 20 seconds or so, what do you think the relationship with the Biden administration, the briefing room, and the media will look like?
I think it'll be much better than it was in the Trump White House, but I think it will, I'm sure, have some adversarial moments where the media wants more information and they don't feel like the Biden team is giving up enough.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Dan Lippman, always great to have you on. Again, Politico, boy, all eyes on the political newsletters and what comes into your inbox in the morning. Again, Dan Lippman, everyone, Politico. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Eric.